So what are we talking about today? Today I want to talk about multiple small unit, aka MSU. Now, what is MSU? Now, if you play 7th edition, then you probably know what I'm talking about. Multiple small unit is it's some sort of tactic or some ways to deploy your unit in a way that you are on purposely separating multiple units, such as maybe like a 10-man tactical squad. You separate them into 2 squad of 5 men, and then you just split them apart, and they can maneuver independently, and you're forcing your opponent to divert their firepower to multiple targets at once, which first of all you will force them to make a mistake when they make judgment call whether they want to shoot at the target or not, etc., so on and so forth. Now that thing was pretty popular back in the 7th edition because split fire wasn't available to everyone. Split fire was only available to certain units such as Centurion, Devastators, which have the split fire capability. But ever since the introduction of 8th edition, where everyone has the ability to split fire whenever they want, MSU kind of dies out. And also because in 8th edition, when you want to deploy units, the decision of whether who goes first or who goes second is determined by how fast you can deploy your entire army. So say if I have 13 drops and then you have like 15 drops, then I will go first because I finished deploying my entire army first. But that's why MSU kind of loses its own advantage over the years, but recently it has come back. So I was talking to my friend. I finished another tournament in Taiwan just a while ago as Tao, which it probably deserves a brand new video to talk about. But for the time being, let's just talk about MSU. So he told me that he used to fight this Raven Guard guy, right? So this Raven Guard guy, he runs a pretty interesting tactic. So when I heard about it, it's because, okay, the reason why he brought it up is because like he was talking about how good aggressor is, like how good aggressor is for like Marines, like especially for Raven Guard. I'm like, dude, seriously, like aggressors, Raven Guard, like come on, man, it's like 2019, like do you still play those kind of shit? And he was like, dude, man, no, not really. It's like it's actually pretty good. And I'm like, oh, okay, then I'm kind of interested. Like hear me. I want to hear this whole thing. So the whole story is like this. So basically he fought this guy who run Raven Guard, and he basically have like a bunch of like 3 model aggressors, like the minimum number for a single aggressor unit is like 3 models, right? I'm like, why run it in 3 models? Why not run it like a full 6? Right, because if you run a full 6, then you only have to spend the command point, the strike from the shadow, once. Then you can transport 6 units to the front line. Like in just one go. Why bother separate them into small different part of unit? And he said, because as soon as he split it apart, now they can roam around the map independently, and since they have toughness 5 and like 3+ armor, they become super hard to kill. And even if you want to kill them, you somehow will miscalculate the firepower divert upon them, because number 1, they are Raven Guard, so -1 to hit right off the bat, and number 2, they have the durability. So it becomes a pretty annoying target to deal with. But then the first question that came to my mind was like, wait, hold on a second, can I just split fire? Like, wouldn't split fire just solve this whole problem? Can I just like shoot at this unit first and then use another unit to shoot at it until it dies? It's going to be very difficult for me to fuck up the whole organizing and then plan out how I shoot at the target and so forth, right? It shouldn't be too hard. It should be pretty easy to not mess this up. But the problem here was that since he has so many multiple small units running on our battlefield, he is doing the mission, the objective, much more efficient than I do. And that kind of like resonate with me, because recently when I tried to write like a Tyranid list of a Kraken list, right, I kind of run into a similar conundrum. Like, do I want to have all the models in a single giant blob of unit, so they, first of all, they can benefit better from buffs such as onslaught, catalyst, you name it, right? They can benefit so much more. And also because chapter approved 2018 rules usually determines the objective camping by how many models you have, right? So, and of course the troop choice objective secure still applies here, but like overall it's the models that really counts. So in this kind of scenario, then I feel like maybe instead of having multiple small unit, wouldn't that have like a large blob of unit to be better? But then later I thought about it. I was like, maybe that's not true, because if I have units split apart, right? If I split the unit apart, because in 2018 chapter approved missions, the deployment is done in one single go. You know, it's no longer whoever deploys finish deploying first goes first, and you know, so on and so forth. No, it's not, none of that anymore. So that's kind of like the reason why we started to see MSU being brought back a little bit. Well, I'm not gonna say it's like, you know, completely back, because it depends on the role you play. If you play ITC, if you play like secondary missions, kill points still exist. You know, those kind of stuff will still really trash the whole MSU playstyle. But if you just play like chapter approved 2018 missions and with no secondaries, with just like, you know, the big rulebook or like just chapter approved rules, then MSU can be pretty good, you know, because you have multiple stuff that's running around. And this works really good, especially in Maelstrom missions, because in Maelstrom missions there's always like 6 objectives that you need to camp, and having multiple units that can just like roam around and snatch different objectives one at a time is better than having like one large blob of stuff and trying to camp one objective and then move on to the other objective, and then realize you don't exactly have the mobility for it because there's so many objectives everywhere and you can't be everywhere at once. So the best way to deal with this is simply just have multiple small units. And if you apply this into, say, Tyranids, all right, if you apply this to Tyranids, I'm thinking about, especially in Maelstrom missions, I'm starting to think that even in Eternal War, Gargoyle is starting to look a little bit more appealing than before, because Gargoyle, as we know, first of all, it's not troop, right? It's not a troop choice. It's a fast attack choice, and it's a 6 point per model, so it's basically the same amount of point cost as an upgraded Hormigaunt with Adrenal Gland, which is also 6 points. Now, what happens is that it can't exactly compare against Hormigaunt, because first of all, Hormigaunt is a troop choice, and Hormigaunt has the ability to pile in and consolidate 6 inches instead of 3 inches, which is really good. But here's the thing, Hormigaunt can only move 8 inches per turn, or 9 inches if you include the Adrenal Glands, if you advance, of course, and charge. But that's not talk about combat. Let's just talk about snatching objective and how fast you can snatch the objective, right? Here's the thing though, if we're playing like Eternal War missions, say the supply drop, the supply from above, excuse me. So we play the supplies from above, right? That mission exclusively says that only the unit with fly keyword will have the upper hand when determining who has the objective. Then Gargoyle suddenly becomes very appealing, because first of all, Gargoyle has fly, and Gargoyle has a lot of number. It has advantage over numbers, right? So there are plenty of stuff that has fly. You know, XV25 has fly, Riptide has fly, fucking Eldar Swooping Hawk has fly, Jetbike has fly, Inceptor has fly. There's like a bunch of stuff that has the fly keyword that can contest against the objectives, right? But there's a problem with those kind of unit. They are not exactly numerous. They don't have the numbers. They don't have the numbers because first of all, you have to compare who has the fly keyword, right? Whoever has the fly keyword gets the objective. Then you compare the number count for the model, and the troop choice, the objective secure does not apply here, because the mission specified that you the way to actually get the objective is to have fly. Well, I mean, you can get it as troop, you can get it as any sort of like role you want, or any sort of unit you want, except for the actual fly role. You can't get objective because the boot on the ground beta role. Well, it's not beta role, but it's a set role. So anyway, so the best way, okay, to get the objective from the supply from above is to actually have gargoyles. And even if you're not playing the supply from above mission, let's say you're playing like Maelstrom mission, and then you have like a group of, I don't know, hold on a second, and just do a calculation. 6 times maybe 20, maybe, okay, how about 20 gargoyles? Like 20 gargoyles, it's only 120 points, which is not all that expensive. That's like, again, that's like 20 Hormigons, which is like actually a relatively small amount of stuff, but 20 gargoyles can actually do a lot. First of all, they have much bigger model, and when they are going to use their body size to tar pit or build up like a sort of like a defense net against a melee charging incoming foe, they are actually pretty good because first of all, they are pretty fast, and second of all, they have fly, so they can always fall back and shoot. And if you put them in Kraken, not only they can fall back and shoot, they can fall back, shoot, and advance. And charge on the same turn, all on the same turn, because they're in Kraken, right? Kraken allows them to go charging after falling back, and they have a fly keyword, so they are allowed to shoot even after the fallback. So they are pretty versatile, but they are pretty, well, weak, right? They are pretty weak. They're pretty easy to deal with. They have like what, 6 up armor save, toughness of a 3, so you know, like basically you can sneeze at it and it will probably fucking die. But that doesn't really matter because you're probably gonna put these unit in reserve, or for the most part you're gonna put that somewhere that's so out of the action. You know, they're gonna be like so far away from all the main action. You know, like have you ever played a game like this? You know, like the main focus is going to be somewhere on the map, you know, like maybe the right side of the map or left side of the map, and then the opposite side are usually empty without any sort of, you know, activity that you and your opponent just you know, arbitrarily decide to leave it alone because it's not the best interest to fight in that particular place. And what happens is that, let's say you play Eternal War mission and then the Vital Intelligence mission, and then you roll a dice, and then you know, in Vital Intelligence missions, like there's like 5 different capture point, and then at the start of every turn you have to roll a die to see which point is being quote-unquote activated, and the activate point actually score you more point. Now here's the thing, imagine you and your opponent are fighting over the 3 of the points, right? Let's say you're fighting 3 of the point because one is in your base, one is in his base, and one is in the middle of the battlefield, and you guys are just fighting for it back and forth. And then there's like 2 point that's like really far out, and you and your opponent both don't exactly have more unit to divert into that point. This is when MSU comes in. Like, this is when stuff like gargoyles start to come in. Like, you don't need to have like 30 gargoyles or like, you know, 20, 25 or 30 gargoyles. You don't have to. You can probably just bring like 12 gargoyles. Just bring 12. You know, 12 is more than enough to contest against like a XP25, which only has 3 models, or Swooping Hawk. You know, like, you just have to have enough models to contest against majority of the unit that has similar role as yourself, and then you can basically camp that point, and then you'll get the point, and then you get the victory point, and then eventually you'll win the game. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it I want to talk about MSU. I know this is kind of like a pretty messed up format of the video, but that's, you know, this is more comfortable for me to talk about Warhammer daily. I don't have to do a lot more editing. I can just like upload videos like this every day. If you like this kind of format, sort of like a semi-podcast, please let me know. Leave a comment, subscribe, whatever, and just let me know if you have any sort of question. I love answering question, and if you guys want me to talk about any certain topic, just feel free to ask the question below. We'll talk about it whenever I have time. So this is pretty much it for today, and thank you guys for watching. This is Tsumugi signing off. Goodbye.